So, guys, we're back with All Ball Talk. I've been going over the transfer portal, the top targets, where the smoke is, visits they've lined up, pretty much where they're probably going to go. And today we're going to go with Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman is obviously he was in the loaded receiver class with Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Ryan Wingo. Huge 5-star, went to Auburn. Has not been very successful. Not just for him. I mean, he put up decent stats. I mean, he this year had 56 catches for 708 and 5 touchdowns, including a huge game against Vandy. 10 catches for 143. He's been a productive player. He's obviously still really good. He's big-bodied, 6'3", 205. But honestly, Auburn, they've lacked the quarterback this year. They had Jackson Arnold, couldn't throw. Pretty much only used his legs. Then they moved on to Ashton Daniels, and Ashton Daniels was decent, but he'll probably go to a mid-tier Power 4, probably in the portal. Deuce Knight, they started him against the FCS team, so I don't know. But regardless, he's a really good player, and it's been known that Texas is the team to beat here. Both Texas schools, with obviously crazy NIL, Texas and Texas A&M, are the competitors for him, and I would love to see him in Texas. I think Texas is really, they're really looking good now that I thought it was kind of weird that when Contravion Wisner and C.J. Baxter are both transferring, thought that was odd, and Parker Livingston's transferring too, which was even weirder. But I'm really interested to see how this all works out, because Cam Coleman's a 5-star perennial pedigree. He's going to be a draft pick, maybe even he's probably a top 3 round draft pick coming next year, even with like Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Wingo, and see Ryan Williams has cooled off. He hasn't looked great this year, but he's still a talented player nonetheless. But I think this is huge for Sark. I think that Texas obviously didn't have the year they expected to have this year. They didn't get in the playoff, which is obviously probably a Texas probably expects, especially in the NIL era, they probably expect to make it every year. So this is interesting to me. But Cam Coleman, super talented. He's big. Go up and get it. He's fast. I think he was definitely hurt by Auburn's lack of a true offense. I mean, they had no dimension. Some offenses are one-dimensional in the run game, one-dimensional in the pass game. They had no dimension at Auburn. The offense was absolutely trash. The defense carried them and kept them in games. And Hugh Freeze, it didn't work out, but I think he was a fine coach. But at the end of the day, there was no offense. And when you have a talent like Cam Coleman, you don't really have an excuse for that. But I mean, he was still able to get his. He had a huge game against Vandy, like I said earlier. He had a couple other big games against teams like Mizzou. So he's really good, and I'm excited to see. I think for Sark, this gives Arch Manning another weapon, and obviously Arch Manning weeks from 5 or 6 and on, he was he was the Arch Manning everybody was expecting to see, and to see him with Ryan Wingo and Cam Coleman, hopefully, actually most likely Isaac Brown. Isaac Brown entered the portal with a do not contact tag this morning, and I think he's probably going to go to Texas if that's all the smoke there. So this should be a super talented offense next year if they land him with Sark as the play caller, who obviously he has ups and downs, but he's been clear he's not giving up play calling duties. So I'm interested to see, because Arch is a really good player. He's turned into a really good player. He should be a top 10 pick next year. And if they're going to have Isaac Brown, obviously, hopefully the same caliber of O-line, because their O-line has been pretty good in recent years. But this year it's kind of just been a little bit of Emmett Mosley. Ryan Wingo has been a huge part, and then a little part of Parker Livingston, who's obviously transferring. But bringing Cam Coleman into this mix makes that team borderline unstoppable. I mean, that's an insane offense. They have a dual threat quarterback in Arch Manning. I'd probably maybe put Ahmad Hardy above Isaac Brown as an underclassman running back. That's phenomenal. That's insane. So they're going to have one of the best running backs in the country, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and 2 of the best wide receivers in the country. Ryan Wingo has turned into a crazy good player over the course of this year. and he's kind of developed with Arch, and that's insane. If they can land Cam Coleman, you're gonna have probably a top 10 pick, maybe even top 5 because Arch Manning is a quarterback in the 2027 draft, combined with you're probably gonna have Ryan Wingo and Cam Coleman, who are probably going to go in the top 2 to 3 rounds, maybe even first round. Isaac Brown's going to be a first or second round back. I mean, that's going to be unbelievable. They should be a preseason top 5 immediately. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of teams recently that we've seen that have had that kind of talent, and I honestly can't. Like, how much every weapon they have is probably going to be drafted in the top 3 rounds. I mean, how many times that even happened ever? But if he does land at Texas A&M, the smaller possibility, that will give Marcel Reed, Mario Craver, and Cam Coleman. That's also amazing. Cam Coleman's obviously a little bit different than Casey Concepcion. It's, Concepcion was kind of like a weapon. Just that they ran jet sweeps with him. He was a punt returner. Completely different player, but Cam Coleman is still an insanely talented receiver, and he would really help Marcel Reed's development because I think Marcel Reed played really well this year, but there's a reason that nobody's really talking about him as a Heisman favorite next year or like a draft pick. Like, he could have been so much better. I came away not as impressed as I thought I would be with Marcel Reed, but Texas A&M, they were a college football playoff team this year. Obviously lost Miami, but they're obviously still super talented. They have a ton of money, so if they got Cam Coleman, it'd kind of be the same as Texas. It would just increase their weapons, help Marcel Reed out, and you're probably looking at the same kind of thing as last year, or as this year, with being a college football playoff team and a higher seed. However, on the Cam Coleman side of this, I think that going to Texas would actually probably help him. Obviously, having him and Ryan Wingo would take a lot of pressure off him as a pass catcher, where obviously he was the only weapon at Auburn. I mean, that team was just god-awful, but the offense was god-awful. The defense had a lot of pieces, which we'll probably get to later with pretty much the whole team transferring out. But Golas going to bring his guys. But regardless, Cam Coleman, I'm interested to see with his usage will probably be the same as this year, in my opinion. I think he'll probably end up around that 800-yard mark, just because there's so many weapons and you can run the ball at Texas with Isaac Brown. And Brian Wingo is obviously going to get a huge target share, but he's obviously still crazy talented. I'm interested to see, though, because I think that his draft stock will mainly be the same. I think he needs to flash a little bit more next year for him to really go in that first round or the early second round. But regardless, I think if he goes to either school, A&M or Texas, it should be a good fit for him because he's still really talented, and both teams have developing quarterbacks who could be Heisman favorites. Not favorites, but they could be in the running for the Heisman next year. Obviously, both were good players down the stretch. And I think that Cam Coleman should develop into a top 1 to 2 round talent like he was as a 5-star in one of the best wide receiver recruiting classes ever. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it turns out. Texas is obviously the favorite right here, right now. But yeah, I'm interested to see. I think he's still a super talented player, even though he had above average. He still had above average production in an awful offense, which shows promise. And I'd love to see him next to Ryan Wingo next year. But till the next one, I'll see you guys.